Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to another episode of Zen Mill Lane. We found out what the name was going to be eventually, so that's pretty good. I feel like we got there in the end, and that's what matters, really.
How'd you come up with the name? Is there a hidden meaning behind it?
I feel like those who know. Those who don't.
That's helpful. That's kind of why I was asking. But keep it mysterious.
We'll let the people find out.
Mhm.
We'll let the people find out by their own accord. If they care, they'll try and decipher. If not, then
Yeah.
we decided we're going to talk about a couple of topical things today. We're going to talk about ourselves a little bit more as well, because it's easy to ramble about stuff that you know.
Yeah. So by that logic, would you say you know yourself?
Definitely better than almost anything else.
Which is not saying much. I mean, for myself anyway.
It's correct.
I agree.
It's bang on. It's bang on the money. First thing I guess we should talk about is the influences behind our previous EP and how they've changed slightly for the next EP. This new EP that we've been working on for a while now, and that is very close to completion. So the first EP, I guess I'll say the influences that I feel really came alive during the first EP on my half, and then you describe the ones that...
Yeah, I'm trying to think of it. It's kind of hard to think back what I was into at the time. What do you think for you? Obviously, there's the life influences, I guess, which we discussed a little bit last episode, which, just relationships in the hospitality industry, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So mostly non-romantic relationships, just friendships, etc., where we saw something or noticed a pattern that was really prevalent and would likely pop up again and again, and was quite, you could point it out quite easily. Maybe something that a friend was going through, or a family member was going through, but definitely in that ballpark. And musically, I guess it was more on my side anyway, there was more of there was a lot of neo soul influence, because I feel like that comes into almost everything I do because of my background. And
any specific artists? I mean, I will know some for sure, but from your side anyway.
Yeah, sure thing. Kindred Family Soul, for sure. Kindred Family Soul, they have a song called Far Away, and it is an absolute banger, an OG classic. There's also perhaps Calvin Richardson's More Than a Woman. That was, I feel like something that I was playing quite often back then as well, and really came into play, especially in some of the songs.
Which you don't know either of those. I was like, yeah, surely I know.
Yeah, you would have heard it at some point.
Yeah, probably
for sure.
Probably showed me at the time.
But I guess that's my half. What would you say is, firstly, a life influence, something that was going on at the time that really influenced you in the production of the songs slash?
Yeah, I think at the time, this was just after COVID, after things were starting to come back to normal. I had just moved back to the UK as well after spending a year or so on and off in Portugal, living with my mum. And then I moved into my girlfriend's parents and was leeching off of them. But I also started studying, went back to studying, and I, as you know, studied computer programming. And this may not seem relevant, but one thing that it really taught me was how to be more efficient, more methodical, and more methodical, I guess. Can't think of another word, but which is not something that you need necessarily to make music, but it really, really helped me because I actually got to finish something, got to be more organized. Like, okay, just if I feel myself drifting too much, I will just stop and think, okay, what do I need to finish this song? And come up with some very concrete next steps to actually finish it, which worked quite well. So that definitely was a change that helped us, or helped me anyway, changing my mindset. In terms of music, it's kind of hard. I know some of the things that I was listening to at the time. I was listening to a lot of Marcos Valli, Marcos Val, amazing Brazilian singer, songwriter, producer, just an absolute genius. I got to see him live last year in some venue in London. I can't remember what it's called, but it was amazing. Best gig I've ever been to, hands down. It was just amazing, and I just love him. I was trying to make eye contact with him the whole time I was there. I was like, please look at me, noticing me, please. Sorry about that. So that was definitely a big influence, still is till today. I won't go a few weeks without listening to Mark Schwal. I also was listening to a lot of this guy, which I shared with you. Is, I don't want to say, I think he might, I think he's from Liberia, but he sings in a different couple of languages. And I think his name is Hamid El Shahid, I think it is. And I was literally around that time, I was like in the 0.01% top listeners on Spotify, because I was just listening to him constantly, like over 90% of what I was listening to, because I just, it's quite amazing. He's got a big discography, and I just really love the mix of like electronic stuff with some popular music from where he's from, the languages that he sings in. I think he sings in Arabic a little bit. And it's a very rhythmic language due to the sounds that are like very similar to Portuguese sounds. But anyway, I'm just completely forgetting what are we talking about, because I just love those artists a lot. But yeah, I was listening to a lot of them. I wasn't necessarily trying to make music that sounds like them, and when I was actually deep into the process, I wasn't listening to any music at all, which is quite strange. But I watched some videos here and there, but I was mostly trying for for reasons that we've discussed last episode, I was trying to not let myself be swayed into trying to make something sound like a particular song. Not use a lot of references until the point where we actually started mixing the songs. But I think perhaps the biggest influence was the recordings that you were sending me, because they're the ones that, you know, made the songs come to life. But yeah, and speaking of that, like how are you coming up with those melodies, those songs? Because I know you have a lot of lyrics written down, a lot of stuff written down, particularly from that era and from a little bit before. What was your process?
Right, yeah. It's a great segue actually into one of the topics that we wanted to discuss, which is our process. My process, I think, differs from yours in some places, and I feel like it has become very similar to yours in other places. As our friends know, or the people we work with know, I'm pretty much never thinking about music in a technical manner or in notes. Firstly, because I can't. Secondly, because I find a lot of joy approaching it from an ethereal place. I kind of think that there's a sort of, in order to put what you hear in your head into the classical system that is used mainly in the West, you have to strip away a lot of it. You have to strip away, firstly, the notes that are not on the keyboard, and secondly, all of the sounds that are hard to describe into and put into, all of the songs that are hard to materialize with the instruments that you have at hand, or the effects that you have at hand. There's some things that are just very, very difficult to kind of, I think materialize is the best word. But so I do tend to approach it from in my own way. I think that's a way that works for me, and by definition that's the best way. There was a season where I was trying to kind of master looking at the songs in this manner and really trying to make something of them. So I would go onto YouTube and just type in, an artist that I wanted to kind of, maybe an artist that I felt connected with the song that I had in my head. I'll just type in type beat, the artist. I'm sure many people have done this, and from there you just practice, and eventually you kind of like learn what it is that you're looking for.
I remember you telling me though, at some point you had a somewhat clear idea, maybe not clear, but you had somewhat of an idea of the melody or the rhythm, and you would just spend hours looking for the right beat, looking for the right vibe, I guess, as well, the right thing that would match, not necessarily something in the same key of what you were singing, but something that would fit the idea that you had in mind, which is, it's wild to me, because I can't approach things that way always. because I'm also like thinking of the foundation, the thing that will support the vocals, and not the other way around. So, but that's I was quite surprised when you said that. Like for me, I would approach it just find a beat that I like and then just make the words to it, or make the melodies to that beat. Which I mean, I guess that was maybe a little bit of that as well on what you were doing.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that there's definitely two ways to approach it in that regard. When you're trying to find something online that will allow you to express what it is that you're thinking of, or what it is that that is coming to you. As you said, there is that way of like finding something online and then writing something to it. But there's also a way that I prefer, which is essentially you have something in your head and then you go online to see if something kind of matches what it is that is in your head. With time, I guess you understand better what it is that is in your head, and therefore you can search for what you're looking for online with more ease.
Almost like a process of elimination.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which I think, even for myself when I'm trying to write a song, I do some of that as well. Like, because I'm not, it doesn't come very naturally to me, even though I have some knowledge of theory and stuff. I don't have a great ear for notes and melodies and stuff. So I do go through a similar process where I have an idea of a melody in my head, and then I will just find the chords that will match that melody, trying to find what key I'm in and everything. And it is a little bit of a process of elimination. So actually I never even made the connection till then. But yeah, sorry, you're saying?
No, I definitely hear what you mean, and what I was kind of like saying earlier is that I feel like in that respect, perhaps we differ a little bit because you have the knowledge to kind of back it up, so you can just kind of produce something there and then that is reflecting what is in your brain. But then, if we go on to the other side and try and see what is
Sorry.
where we overlap in methods, I feel like the places that we overlap is essentially where we get the song from, or where the song is birthed. I feel like it's true for everyone, but I don't think everyone is. I think some people are ignorant to it, or at least believe that they are coming up with a song, that they are thinking about something, and therefore their brain kind of came up with this idea, and the idea is theirs. I'm very much not of that belief. I don't think any single idea, never mind musical, I don't think any single idea is yours alone. There was a phase that I was reading Rick Rubin's Creativity Inc., I think it's called. I think that book confirmed so many things that Duarte and I had spoken of before. So many things, and one of the things that it confirmed is that essentially that knowledge or that information that is kind of going through your head at the time isn't really yours, and you don't have access to it all the time. Hence why artists, like majority of artists, have like one song that they did very well and they're famous for till today. There's very few artists that manage to kind of keep making songs over and over again.
I mean, there is a few, but when you look at those people, how do I say this without getting too wacky and ethereal? Like basically, what you speaking about is what many people refer to as like the ether, or this place where all knowledge and ideas reside in a certain form, and that if you, without again wanting to sound too wacky, connect to it, it's you're able to come up with some pretty amazing stuff, and there's almost like protocols or ways you can live your life in order for you to be more connected to that sort of energy. And there's people that live their lives by those protocols, and it's one of those things where like there's many routes that you can take to access that knowledge. Like artists in particularly the music industry, have always been very influenced by the drugs they take, and there's a lot of people that's the route they take. And a lot of people think you need to I don't know, be doing acid or whatever to be doing psychedelic rock or psychedelic funk or whatever it is, because that's the only way that you can have access to these other realms. And but you just see that like all of those people that were geniuses and great people of the time in terms of music and creative outputs, they had very short lives, because the body, we're still trapped in this body. So
yeah, for sure, it kind of gives body to that saying, beware of unearned wisdom, where you're taking a substance, but at the same time that substance is slowly killing you, and you haven't really even tried to explore the possibilities. Perhaps you're able to achieve that state without taking any substances, or at least get to where you need to be to create good music without taking anything.
Yeah, and again, this is like, obviously these are things that we're talking about, that we believe in, but we're not saying that you need to be someone who believes in these things and believes that's where creativity or creative ideas come from. Like it's something that sometimes, in a way, it's best not to know about. If you get into a groove or whatever, like I'm thinking, for example, an artist like Eminem, like can't tell me that like early 2000s, late 90s, when he was like popping off and just banger after banger, he's not thinking, like, not trying to connect with the ether or whatever. He's just being instinctive about it, which is, I guess, another pillar for being creative, is just trust your instinct.
Right.
Your instinct should be the guide of it all.
It's actually seems like what happens is more that the instinct, although it's still there in the great artist as he stops making music, but it's kind of like it's still there. It's just overshadowed by a lot of doubt and insecurity, because there's different artists making music now. And like, I don't think that should ever be the case. Paul McCartney is still doing music. Obviously, Paul McCartney is the 1 percentile or the 0.1 or the 0.01 percentile of musicians ever. But at the same time, I still think that there isn't really a stop point to where your brain is just like, you know what, man, I'm not gonna give you this anymore. I'm gonna give you something else. If you're born that way, if you're born an artist, you probably know it from a young age. Or if you don't, you're a confused person like I am, and you only found out when you were like 20. But at least you had hints that you take this lifestyle and that you take this life. And if you decided, okay, I'm gonna do with this what I'm gonna do with this what I can, and just see what happens. I think it's good to know that it's never gonna leave you. Really, you're always going to be someone who I've heard it described quite well on the internet, and I can't remember who it was, but someone who has a wider window into the realm of chaos, um, the realm of possibility, if you will. But yeah, going back a couple of steps, wanted to find out a little bit more about your process, Duarte, because
Well, I think it's very much in line with what we were just discussing. I've always sort of had song ideas, things that that would come to me, little phrases, little musical phrases, little riffs and stuff that I could sing or would hear it in my head. I've always, something that I've discussed with you, when I'm like producing something, and if I'm like in the zone or whatever, like there will be moments where I am just, staring at the screen. I'm not saying a word to anyone. And in those moments, it's very, very much as if I'm hearing something, which I know a lot of artists are I like this. You hear the song almost fully completed in your head, and then you're just trying to replicate that with the skills that you have, and which poses another interesting factor here, which obviously we're talking about hearing these ideas and staying in tune with these other with the realm of chaos, as you mention it, but that only goes, it doesn't go all the way to like completing the song, which again, back when we were doing the EP at that time as well, another influence was that I started diving a little bit more into the world of jazz and jazz theory, and trying to just become a better musician so that I could take those ideas, what I was hearing, and then bringing it to life, which when you look at very talented musicians that are amazing technically and know a lot of theory, it seems like that everything they do is just effortless. Like even with some of the boys that we play with, they, it just comes to them, and they are incredibly talented, and also they work really, really hard to get those skills. And a bit of it is repetition. He's playing a lot of songs, which jazz musicians tend to do. They know a lot of songs, even if it's just within the jazz realm, like jazz standards and stuff like that. But most of them are as well very in tune with that chaotic realm, whether or not they're aware of it, and or if they believe they are in tune with that. The difference is they can, when they hear it, they can just play it there and then, because they're so technically gifted, or they work really, really hard, which is something that I am not. I'm getting better at it slowly, but it's a bit of a struggle, and it's always been a bit of a struggle. And it's one of those processes, the point that I hear something to getting it completed, it's a process that is as painful as it is enjoyable. It's always kind of in the middle there. It's definitely very addicting. Like many times I will like spend 8 hours straight on one song with absolutely zero breaks, maybe go to the toilet and come back, that's it, just because I'm literally glued. I can't back away from it. That thought doesn't even come into mind.
And how much of that is a self-imposed sort of discipline thing where you're like, okay, I need to stay here to complete this, and how much of that is I don't want to look anywhere else for now. I want to do this more than anything else.
It's definitely not self-imposed discipline. In fact, with this EP, I have to. The first step, I have to be like, okay, you need to sit down and do this. From the moment I sit down, and the first 5 minutes might be a little bit of a struggle, and then the rest is just. It can still be a struggle to come up with the ideas or to materialize the ideas, but there's no longer a struggle of like, when you don't, you need to do something, you have to do something, but that it's going to be painful in a way, because it can be very demanding, very straining. But once you start it, it's like I can't back away from it. It's I'm just glued to just wanting to get this idea out of me. Like, I need to get it out some way. If I don't get it out, two things can happen. Either I lose it, or the idea almost starts eating me from the inside and become a little bit miserable. But yeah, there's some element of the self-imposed discipline for sure, in particularly to start a session. But after that it's
really like interesting concept of the idea eating you from the inside. It's kind of like either you have it or it has you, in the worst sense possible. It's kind of like, and I definitely understand what you mean by that.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. It's that is one of the things that why I believe that ideas just come from elsewhere, almost like something that is too powerful for you to hold. So it's almost like you download it and then it's in you, but that thing that you've downloaded, that idea, again, it's not something that your body or your brain can hold, so you need to release it. And one of the ways of releasing it is just, recording it, writing it down, releasing it out into the world. It takes time then, like after you've released it, it takes time. It takes time to actually get it out of your system. Is not something that you record it, that's that done. That's out of you now. Because obviously you're gonna put parts of yourself into the song as well. I don't believe it's just completely comes from the ethereal and that's that. So yeah, I don't really know. It's a process that I'm still trying to understand. Very difficult to put into words, I guess.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely try to be as very little logical that sentence made no sense about it, and just go with the flow, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. As soon as you try and get your own brain involved in the process, like, it's lost.
Yeah, the getting your brain involved should be a second nature thing. It should be a something that you've done so many times that it's almost like a subconscious part of your brain knows how to do, so you can just do it straight away, which is goes back to what I was saying about jazz
Right, yeah.
musicians. Is like the ideas come to them there and then, and they can play it there and then. They don't need to
Yeah.
work it out. Sometimes they do, but
No, that for sure. But I meant it in the sort of like as soon as you try and think that you have
yeah.
you have like if you hear the sound and then you think, okay, this could be like this, but it could also be in a slightly different way that I've just come up with. Maybe that's the way. I feel like you're suddenly going off into a different thing. If I was to put it in like kind of out there terms, it's almost like disrespecting the muse, and he or she becomes, or they becomes upset with you and kind of like takes it away from you.
Yeah, which I think, not, just going back again with something that has been sort of a double-edged sword, which is, learning more theory, becoming more technically proficient. It can be very, very helpful in the songwriting process, but at the same time, I find myself now when I'm trying to write something, I was like, okay, I know I'm in this key. What chords go in this key? Which that can be a box that you're stuck on, and this is not to say the best way is to just write songs that are in different keys and have weird chord changes and everything. It's like not necessarily. Like if you look at the Beatles and other famous country singers and rock bands and stuff, like they would keep things tidy, not all the time, obviously. And I guess what I'm saying is, like, you shouldn't, or at least I feel like you shouldn't be no searching for the chords or searching for the sounds within that little human knowledge that you have. You should instead just hear it, really pay attention, and then you can go through that process of finding it, which is so tricky because, like, how do you know which process you are applying at the time? It's very, very hard.
Yeah, exactly. I think you said something important there when you said just paying attention when you're hearing it, and part of that is recognizing when you are hearing it, which took me a long time. I think it took us a long time, but eventually when we landed kind of very secure, and we were almost 100% sure that no, this was indeed it, that we had kind of grasped what it was to listen when something was speaking to us, to really listen out and really pay attention to it. So much so that we kind of developed this system of just recording into our phones when we have an idea. It'll come to us in the weirdest times. Like sometimes I'll be cooking and it'll come to me, or I'll be just walking in the middle of the street after I've come back from something, maybe an event, or maybe a family get together, maybe an emotional time. It'll spring into mind, and I'll go on my phone straight away. I won't really question it. I'll just go on my phone straight away and try and record what it is that I'm hearing. And almost every time, like I'm happy with what I get from that. I don't need to finish the whole song into my voice notes. I just need to put the seed in them so that then later on I can extend and really pick it apart. Yeah, that's pretty good.
I don't know who you ask.
We can kind of segue into the next part that I wanted to touch on, which is whether or not AI will take over the arts.
Just do a quick break just whilst I check my phone here.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Doesn't need to be a break. No, it's all good. That was a quick, very quick break. Tell you what though, hold on a second.
So yeah, it's kind of hard to tell whether or not AI will take over the arts. I don't think so. I don't think it's capable of doing that. I don't think AI is able to do that because I have lots of thoughts of why it can't. But I think essentially, in order to do art for humans, you have to be human. I don't think humans are just computational power from the brain.
Yeah.
For many reasons, but that is the basis for why I think AI is not going to be able to take over the arts. I'm not an expert in anything, literally anything. I'm speaking.
Well, barbacking, no. That's, I'd say you're an expert.
Yeah, I'm an expert barback.
KPing. God. Yeah.
I'll wash a glass like no other. But I really think that AI is incapable of replicating that. What do you think?
Barbacking.
Also, yes.
I definitely think AI is not going to take over any blue collar jobs anytime soon. In terms of music, I don't think AI can be at the forefront of, music and trends and stuff because, the output of the most or all of the AI models we have now comes from human input, which human beings are not. There's an element of in human beings that is similar to that. Like we are very much what we output into the world is very much influenced by what we take as input. However, going back to what we were discussing, I feel like we as humans have access to something else, which I don't understand it fully, what that is, but from what I can see, AI does not have access to that. They have only access to what we've outputted or inputted into it. So it's, again, same here. I'm not an expert on anything, so it just doesn't seem like that would be the case. I think, like when I was studying programming, and I was keeping up a little bit more with things, and there were people saying, "Oh yeah, it's going to be no programmers in the next 10 years. It's all going to be AI is going to take over." And then some of the people, the smarter ones, are like, "It's not going to take over, but one programmer with the help of AI can't do the job of 5 programmers." So it can aid in maybe taking the jobs of some humans, but you can see there's a lot of people using AI in music, but the ones that are actually, making hits, making songs that really resonate with people, they're not asking AI like, can you come up with a chord progression? Can you come up with words for this song? I mean, you can. I'm not saying that you can't go viral or whatever with AI songs, but I don't think those songs will be the ones that in 70 years' time, 80 years' time, people will be still playing it on the radio like we do the Beatles and like we do Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, those type of people, those type of songs, or that type of music that just remained with people for a reason, and people will keep finding a connection to it. All it takes is just hearing it once. Again, I don't want this to backfire massively when in the future there's just AI music everywhere, but I think removing the human element out of it just, I don't know.
Yeah. Like you said, I think it's pretty much a waiting game now to see what happens. But in my opinion, I don't think we have anything to worry about. I think the people who are really capable are going to become even more capable. The people who have maybe who are less gifted in an aspect will become empowered, and there will certainly be bad things as well.
Yeah.
Stuff like rights to new things, like if an AI actually comes up with a concept or a new idea, who has the rights to that idea? Is it the people that programmed the AI, or is it the person that made the prompt for the AI, or is it the owner of the company behind the team that programmed that specific AI? Yeah, it's all a madness. But I'd say that's a pretty good place to leave it at. I'd say we've done our bit for today.
Have we?
Kind of went on a tangent.
A little bit of a...
We will say this. We have essentially, like we spoke on the last episode, we have a plan to bring up Patreon to life, if you will. We have a lot of content that want to post up on Patreon, and we'll let you know as soon as that's ready.
Yeah.
And eventually, also we're gonna have people on this podcast to interview and find out more about them. So once that's ready, we will bring them here, talk to them a bunch, and then maybe we'll do a little something together, music-wise, on Patreon.
Yeah, and you can catch us live very, very soon on the 11th of April at New Moon.
At the New Moon, 11th of April, we're actually going to be playing one or two new songs, maybe.
Yeah.
If we're lucky.
If we're lucky.
We'll get to play two new songs.
And then after that, I've already mentioned it, but 19th of April.
19th of April at Paradise Gardens.
Supporting Bowcat.
Supporting Bowcat.
Yeah. And then we're playing in Coventry sometime in April. Can't remember. Is it
We're playing Coventry
sometime
in May.
Sorry,
24th of May,
24th
I believe.
of May. Yeah, that will be nice. A nice little intimate gig. Are tickets up?
Tickets are up. Tickets are up. People can go
so
and help
far,
themselves.
You should probably say that. So far.
So far
Coventry.
sounds.
Yeah.
Coventry.
Come if you want. We can organize a road trip. That would be so good.
I don't drive, but Duarte does.
Yeah. And yeah, that's where we can catch us. All social medias. All of them.
Every single one. Reach out. Speak to us. If you want a song produced, Duarte is your man. He does produce music and he will produce your song. Reach out. If you want lyrics written, I will help you personally.
Yes.
Reach out.
Please.
Peace.
Love you. All of you equally. Bye-bye.